Hello, and welcome to my Factorio Quick Tips and Tricks Guide. If you're not already familiar with the basics of the game, I would say go play through the campaign real quick, just the introductory campaign that'll get you familiar with some of the basics of the game, as a lot of these tips and tricks are intended for people who are already familiar with some of the base mechanics of the game. This is just to kind of make things a little bit easier on you as you start and as you build up your base a little bit. So, let's jump right in. The first trick I want to talk about is setting up a coal mining loop. Now, the basic way to do this is to set up two miners that are just feeding into each other. And so the coal this one's producing is going into this one to fuel it, and then the coal that one's producing is going back into this one to fuel that. So they're both essentially fueling each other. You can make a little bit of a longer chain. This one's going all the way down here, all the way back up. Or you can make a little bit more of a complex pattern to cover a bigger area. Now, as you can see, that last one's just about to get fed by that miner, and there we go. Now all of them are producing. And no matter what setup you have, you can easily go over, control click and drag, and simply collect all of the coal from that particular setup. This is a really easy way to get your coal mining up and going early on in the game. And it's completely self-sufficient, so all you have to do is come back every now and then to collect the coal. The next early game trick will help you get your copper plate and iron plate production going up pretty early and make it a little bit easier to manage. So as you can see, I have these miners feeding right into the smelters. And of course you can grab the coal, control click, and instantly fill all of them. And now you don't have to worry about grabbers or conveyor belts or anything. And as you can see, these are producing copper plates. And as soon as you need copper plates, just run over, control click, and you'll take any of the copper plates that are in the smelter's inventory. This next trick is to make sure that you utilize both sides of a conveyor belt. One thing that a lot of new players don't always realize is that you can have different goods on different sides of a conveyor belt. So in this particular instance, we're putting coal on one side of a conveyor belt, and we're putting iron ore on the other side of the conveyor belt. So that way, this conveyor belt has both coal and iron ore. These grabbers will then feed both of those into a smelter, so we don't have to worry about making sure that we keep our smelters supplied. This setup will ensure that our smelters always have a supply of coal and iron ore, so that way we can keep our iron plate output high. The next important thing that we want to consider is automating our research. Now, as you can see over here, I've got research coming in on belts on this side. Now these grabbers will fill the first research center, and the next grabber will grab that and it'll just continue down the line. So for example, if I take these out, it'll just take the ones from the previous research center, and that will replenish with the ones before, that'll replenish with the ones before, and that'll just grab everything off of the belt that it needs. Automating research early on can be very helpful, so that way you don't really have to think about it as much, and you can just go in and research a new tech whenever that's available. Electricity management can be a huge part of this game. One cool tip I've found is using burner inserters to feed your boilers. This will ensure that they always have a source of power, because even if your power goes out for whatever reason, your burner inserters will keep on going with the coal that's on the line, and they'll keep fueling themselves and be able to put coal into your boilers and get your power restarted. Another useful tool in this game is something called Alt Mode. If you hit Alt, you can see what your buildings are producing. This makes it a little bit easier to manage all of your output and see what's getting produced where, so you know what needs to be moved to what regions of your factory. This is incredibly helpful the bigger your factory gets. As you progress, make sure that you leave a little bit of space so you can easily expand your factory if you need to add in production for new things, or if you just need to build on to the production that you're already producing. By leaving space, it makes it a lot easier to expand, and you'll save yourself a headache later down the line. Always make sure that your main resources are available. I do this by having it go down the center of my factory and making sure I always leave space at the end that I can build off of. One way to easily shut down production of your factory is to have one of your resources get stuck and not really have a way out of the mess. By avoiding doing that, you can really save yourself some pain in the future. make sure that you automate production of things that you're going to be using a lot. Making sure that you have grabbers or belts and all of those kinds of things. Make it a lot easier to build onto your factory in the future because you already have a lot of the basics that you need to build on. Well, there you go, guys. If you have any more questions or have any tips that you would like to add, go ahead and talk about it in the comments. I'd love to see if there are any other good tips that you guys have that maybe I'm not aware of, and maybe I could add those into another video. Anyway, you can find me on Twitch. I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 6 Eastern Standard Time. And you can also find me on Twitter. Links for that is in the description. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you like and subscribe. See you around.